Natural disasters occur suddenly and are capable of exacting colossal damages. Landslides, floods, volcanic eruptions, and other catastrophes. Today, we intend to show you nature's rebellion, and much of it you'll be seeing for the first time. In this video, you can see a huge landslide destroying a port on a tributary of the Amazon River in Brazil. At first, it may seem that a huge funnel is engulfing parts of the port. In mere seconds, dozens of trucks and shipping containers are in the water. When precipitation levels are above the norm, a catastrophe may happen, like in the Bolivian city of Sucre, which turned into a raging, icy river after a 30-minute rainstorm. The locals think that clogged sewer drains are to blame. Many vendors lost their stock, and some people had to be treated in a hospital for hypothermia. As a result of this spontaneous flood, no less than 10 cars were washed away and 4 people died. In 2020, Storm Alex hit parts of Italy and France, causing a series of the worst landslides and floods in decades. Witnesses captured on film the way force of nature destroyed homes, roads, and bridges. And this is footage of a flood in Seville. Just watch what happened in the town of Estepa, which suffered the most damage. The cause for this disaster was an extended rainstorm. Dramatic footage on social media shows rivers of mud flowing through a town in Sardinia in November 2020. The island was hit by strong wind and heavy rain, cutting off electricity and forcing some people to evacuate. In 2011, as a result of heavy flooding, a bridge collapsed in Sichuan province in China, leaving people in a challenging situation. Firefighters set up a zip line to ferry people across the void above raging waters. Battling a storm, this bus came off the road and fell into a swollen river in India. Using ropes, the locals pulled out everyone who was on board, a driver and 5 passengers. Now this is a different Indian bus, and it was swept away by a river during a flood. It's a good job there were no passengers inside. This epic footage is from the eruption of the Sakurajima Volcano, located in the south of the Japanese island of Kyushu, and considered one of the most active in the world. Luminous lava bombs are falling 1,300 to 1,700 meters away from the crater. But what is the thunderstorm above the crater? The truth is, the lightning strikes in Sakurajima are caused by static electricity created by volcanic ash particles rubbing against each other. This phenomenon has not been widely researched. After all, an active volcano is difficult to study. Just take a look at what happened to a highway in Mexico. After a series of small earthquakes and some rain, a 300-meter stretch of the highway sank about 30 meters. In 2015, the Turkish province of Artvin experienced the heaviest rainfall in the last 50 years. Over 6 hours, they had 4 months' worth of rain. Extreme weather forecaster Reed Timmer managed to capture a huge flash flood on camera as it swept debris from elevated spots. He managed to intercept the flash flood several times as it was making its way through the canyon. This scene is occasionally observed by the residents of Java, Indonesia. The highest volcano on the island, Semeru, is spewing hot clouds across 4.5 kilometers. Forecasters warned people of the danger of lava floods. They may start if it rains heavily. It's worth mentioning that Indonesia is located in the region in the Pacific Ocean known as the Ring of Fire and is prone to earthquakes and eruptions of 120 active volcanoes. This dramatic footage is of massive floods in India in June 2013. The Ganges River overflowed its banks near the pilgrimage city of Uttarkashi and took homes, businesses, and hundreds of lives with it. This event was caused by monsoon rains that hit the country a month earlier than usual. Over 10,000 military personnel, 18 helicopters, and an Air Force transport aircraft were deployed to provide aid. Many believe that the disaster could have been avoided if not for the human intervention. The construction of roads and houses near rivers and mountains, as well as driving heavy trucks and ongoing hydropower projects. The river came down to cleanse Uttarakhand of its greed, said the locals. 2020 was not the best year for China. The country survived dozens of floods. The Yellow River and the Yangtze overflowed their banks and flooded large areas as a result of abnormally heavy rainfall. In Hubei province alone, the disaster caused $1.6 billion worth of damage. In total, floods affected 17 cities and 79 counties across the country and disrupted the lives of 38 million people in 2020. An amazing phenomenon on the coast of Chile, where water ignites spontaneously due to oil deposits near the source. Okay, one tornado, but three at once? What's going on with this sand? Write your guesses in the comments. Looks cool, but you'll get upset when you find out that these are clouds that bring cold in summer. This is what a month's supply of rain looks like when it's poured out all at once. Typhoon Hato, directly translated from Chinese as sky dove, struck South China in 2017. The wind speed reached 155 kilometers per hour. It lifted people in the air, tore off rooftops, overturned cars, and even moved planes. In the city of Zhuhai, a ship lost control and crashed into a bridge that was part of the coastal highway. 6 more vessels sent out distress signals. But the most unlucky were people living in the coastal areas. Flooding, fallen tree blockages, broken wires. This catastrophe affected hundreds of people and claimed 16 lives. This shocking footage is of a flood in southwestern Japan. The Kuma River overflowed when approximately 20 meters of a river dam in Hitoyoshi collapsed after a heavy rainfall. In the most affected areas, cars and homes were flooded, while the residents awaited rescue on rooftops. This pilot clearly likes to take risks. A large funnel formed right in the middle of the residential block, where all the water flowed down. And this is a combination of thunderclouds and the sun. Rate how impressive it is in the comments. In the spring of 2018, torrential rains caused flash floods in Kenya, killing over 100 people and injuring another 250,000. The country was under threat of facing a humanitarian crisis as the water flooded agricultural land. Unfortunately, that wasn't the end of it. A dam in Nakuru district could not withstand the pressure and it burst. The torrents of water and mud washed away hundreds of homes in the 2-kilometer radius of the dam and claimed the lives of over 40 people. But that's not all of it. After the rain, a crack stretching over several kilometers almost split Kenya into pieces, destroying a road in Nairobi. According to some geologists, the fault line was already there, likely filled with volcanic ash from a nearby mountain. The heavy rain just washed away the ash. It may serve as a sign that after 50 million years, the African continent will be split in two as a result of tectonic faults. The break will separate Somalia, Kenya, Tanzania, and half of Ethiopia from the rest of the continent. These countries are located in a region where Somali and Nubian tectonic plates are drifting apart. And now you see the effect of the biggest Atlantic storm in history, Hurricane Irma, which took place in early September of 2017. The wind speed reached 297 kilometers per hour. It caused irreparable damage. For example, on the islands of Barbuda and St. Martin, the hurricane damaged over 90% of the buildings and over half of its inhabitants were left homeless. In St. Martin, Hurricane Irma destroyed an airport. On the night of 8th of September, the hurricane reached the north of Cuba. Havana was flooded. 7-meter waves were rising at the coast. As it reached Florida, the authorities ordered evacuation of over a quarter of the state's population. This monster finally dissipated on September 12th. Occasionally, a spectacular sandfall happens due to rain activity, just as it happened in Riyadh. Here you can see the sand moving across the dunes. The surface is tilted, so the wind blows trillions of sand particles downwards. And this nature's wonder, a sand river, occurred in a desert after a hailstorm. And these unusual, beautiful clouds foreshadow heavy rainstorms with hail, and they appear mainly in the tropics. This weird hole in Saudi Arabia has swallowed up almost all the water left after the rains. And this funnel is in California. When there is a lot of rainfall and the water level in the lake rises too much, the floodgate opens and people can watch an interesting sight. This is taking place in central China, where excessive rainfall has caused flooding. And now you'll see what happens to the guy who didn't enable notifications from our channel. But nature gives him a second chance.
Meu Deus do céu!